Hi everyone, this is Aditya, your host for the show today, and we are joined by a very interesting personality. Her name is Saumya Gupta. She's done her graduation from Nirma University in Ahmedabad. Then she went on to pursue her LLM from National Law University, Jodhpur, and she has been working with Khaitan as a consultant there in IPR. Now, today's session, of course, we will be trying to discuss each and everything, or rather, the important things related to the field intellectual property rights. And Soumya would go on to, make us understand how she made a name in the field and the basics when it comes to the IPR. So, a very warm welcome, Soumya, to the show.
Thank you so much, Aditya.
Right. Soumya, the first question for you would be to take us all through your journey as a, you did your law, you went on to pursue your LLM, then perhaps you worked for a firm in Noida, and now you're
Right,
a consultant in Khaitan. So maybe you can
right.
go ahead and take us through your journey.
Yeah. So early on, in my life, I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer, and therefore I appeared for CLAT. Because of the scores, I couldn't get through any NLUs, and I had the option to either choose between Symbiosis and Nirma University. I chose the latter, and once I enrolled myself into Nirma University, I also, apart from pursuing my studies there, I did pay a lot of attention to my internships.
Right.
So every semester, I did a 5-year law course. So across all, I mean, in all the 10 semesters, I ensured that 1 month or 2 months were dedicated to internship. And therefore, I have like almost 10 internships to my credit, because of which, I realized that I have this inclination towards IPR. So to hone my skills further, and of course, my knowledge further, I decided on to pursue masters after graduating from Nirma University in 2016. So yeah, so I did my masters in IPR. Therefore, I aced the entire batch of the LLM and also the IP stream, that we had at the college. So that was pretty much about the time when I had been put when I was studying the subject as such. Thereafter, graduating from NLU Jodhpur, I I went on, and then I joined this IP boutique firm, Intel Advocare.
Mhm.
It's located in Noida, and my work profile mainly included doing matters around the trademarks law. So
Mhm.
I assisted with the litigation matters, litigation matters and opposition matters.
All right.
Uh, so that was my journey. I worked with Intel, for a year and a half,
Mhm.
and thereafter in 2019 I joined Khaitan as an associate.
Mhm.
So after working for almost 3 years, roughly in Khaitan, I was promoted to the designation of senior associate.
Mhm.
And because of personal reasons, I just recently quit from the designation of senior associate, and then I rejoined, uh, as a consultant.
Mhm.
So Khaitan has very recently come up with this policy of Lex Flex, where they allow the consultants to work from anywhere in the country. You
Mhm.
don't have to visit the office, and the number of working hours, are reduced in terms of in comparison to while you're working as a full-time employee. So that's about it. So that's my journey.
So this has been introduced because of COVID. I'm gauging.
Yeah, mostly because of COVID. A lot of people, after working from home, they realize they also need to pay some time to their families, dedicate some
Right.
time to other stuff, that they're interested in.
Right.
So they Ketan
This
introduced this flexibility,
right.
and
Right. So
I
this
opted for it.
definitely goes on to solve a huge problem in terms of lawyers who were constantly complaining of the work-life balance which they
True.
used to have. Right. So I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that has been taken care of properly.
right. Absolutely.
Super. So, take us through your day, if at all you can do that. So, right now, I'm assuming you are working remotely, but
Yeah.
how is it like? How do you go about it?
So I usually start my day at around 9:30, 10 a.m. in the morning, and while I was working as a senior associate or an associate, I had to dedicate in 9 to 10 hours at least every day.
Mm-hmm.
That was the basic minimum that was required out of us.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm working as a consultant, the working hours have reduced, and I have to work, for a certain amount of time during the entire period. So I have that flexibility. But I mainly work on, okay, so the best thing about working with Khaitan is you don't, you have to handle the entire portfolio for a particular client. So anything and everything that comes under that particular portfolio in relation to IPR, we have to handle that, except for patents. So I predominantly work,
Okay.
on the trademark matters, and I mainly help, in providing assistance with the litigation matters, due diligences, contentious, non-contentious matters, prosecution, including opposition, and a bit of plant varieties and copyright act as well. So that's
Right.
how my day typically looks like.
Right, right. So, for a lot of our viewers, they are perhaps coming, across the term IPR in the, in the first instance, as
Sure.
in the in the first place itself. So, it would be really great if you can, go ahead and explain it, and if it all is coming from straight from the horse's mouth, it makes all the more sense.
Yeah. So IPR or
Explain what
intellectual,
exactly is. Right,
yeah.
right.
So
What exactly is IPR, and perhaps a little bit about trademark, copyright, and uh, uh,
patents mainly, these are
yeah,
the most important IP.
yeah, the three
So
IPs, right?
yeah. So intellectual property rights, or IPR as we know it, they mainly they safeguard or they govern and protect the intangible asset or the intellectual properties, such as patents, copyright, trademarks, geographical indications, industrial designs, so on and so forth. So, trade, like talking about trademarks specifically, trademarks, okay, so I'll be discussing all these terms in like very general parlance, nothing legal about it. So trademarks, trademarks are could be a brand or a symbol or letters, alphabets, even signatures for that matter, and they basically are applied on goods or services, and that is mainly done so as to distinguish that particular good or service from any other uh, provider of the goods or services. So that's the function of the trademark. That's why they are applied. Patents, on the other hand, patents are mainly, it's a monopoly which is granted to you for 20 years. It's a privilege or a right which protects any invention in the form of a product or a process. So patents can only be granted either for products or for processes. And for such products or process which are either, very novel, they have never been in existence, very new, or something that's not obvious to a lot of people, and it has some useful some utility in some sense. So that's what a patent is in general. It's granted for 20 years. Trademarks, on the other hand, they're granted for 10 years. The term of protection is 10 years, and after every 10 years you can renew the trademark for until infinity. So then comes copyright. Copyright mainly, is a right which is granted for any sort of original work. The work has to be original, and this work could either be an artistic work or a dramatic work, or maybe a song or a movie, or all such works. And the need, I mean, the most important criteria to be registered as a copyright would be to have it fixed in, in a to have it fixed in some form. So say, for example, if you're writing a book, if you just have an idea, it won't be copyrighted. You need to pen it down, you need to write it on a paper. Or if you come up with a song, you need to record it in a cassette or a DVD or a hard disk or anywhere, so it has to be recorded or fixed in a medium so as to be protected. So these are the, most common forms of intellectual property rights. And Yeah. If you have to, if I have to summarize what in a nutshell they protect: patents protect invention, trademarks protects the brand, and copyright, on the other hand, protects the original work.
Right,
So that's
right.
about it.
Right. Another question which comes in, everybody's mind, is the fact that how do you actually become an IPR lawyer? Like, is there a niche which already is present, in the graduating college, or you have to make your own path. You have to carve your own path to become an IPR lawyer. So if you can go ahead and basically discuss how and what are the basic prerequisites for
Hmm.
anybody who is practicing IPR specifically.
Hmm. So see, there's no special exam that you have to clear to become an IP lawyer. You all you need to do is hold a degree of bachelor's of law, and also, of course, a bar certificate with you. So if you have these, then all you need to do is, I mean, anybody can become an IPR lawyer if you have the degree, of course. And or you really need to, but in case you need to see, it's a very interesting subject, and it's not just limited to one aspect. It's just not, IP is not just about trademarks. It's also about copyright. It's also about design. It's also about geographical indications, patents. There's a lot to it. So, and very, tiny little, I mean, nitty-gritties are surrounded, across all these different aspects of the IP law. So, I mean, it does require, some sort of further studies. So in if somebody is like really interested in IPR, I would definitely recommend them to pursue masters. That would really help, in so many ways, where it's just not, I mean, it's the understanding is so fine and so reformed, which is not generally taught in a 5-year law course or a 3-year law course. So if you're interested, even while you're pursuing your law, your 3 or 5-year law course, you can of course read books and pursue them. But LLM does provide an advantage in terms of enhancing the knowledge.
Right, right, superb. So the next question is rather personal. This question is, for you to basically take us to one memorable case which you have had when it comes to your career, and what was so interesting about it. If you can maybe throw some light on that.
Okay, so I mean, here I won't talk about any case per se, because what happens generally in IP cases are you file any case for infringement or or piracy, and you really file a suit. If you are successful and obtain an ex parte injunction, you go and raid the premises, secure the products, evaluate the profits made out of those infringing or the counterfeit products, and then they pay you, or a decree is passed, or else an out of court settlement happens. So mainly the fate of IP litigations or IP cases is out of court settlement most of the times. So because it's just that's how it is, and that's something that we also read about, even in law college, in law schools and all the time. So therefore I'll talk about this one instance where how IP plays an important role in due diligences. So while any company is merging with another, or there's an acquisition, or somebody is acquiring majority stake in another company, in such sort of transactions, we in such sort of due diligences, there's some IP aspect with which the IP lawyers can provide assistance with. So say for example, there was this brand, and it has been in existence. I'm sorry, because of confidentiality reasons I can't take the names, but there's this brand which has been in existence for over 100 years, and it's a pretty renowned brand. It was functional at one point of time, then dead, and again it revived, but again late in the later part, it became dead again. So our client, being an automobile industry, being a part of the automobile industry, they wanted to acquire this brand, and uh, so that because this brand has some history of that goes more than that traces back to 100 years. So that's why they wanted to associate with that particular brand, and they acquired it. So I mean, this may seem like a little task, but this was just not located to the territory of India. IP laws are very territorial in nature. So this was not just limited to India, but we did this transaction where we tried and revamped this brand in more than 50 countries all across the globe. So from liaising with the foreign associates of 50 different countries for taking civil action, for conducting investigations, serving cease and desist notices, filing appeals, filing litigations, we try to protect the identity of the brand from the infringers, while simultaneously, since it was registered in some countries, we try to renew it. Took those calls where we can let it, where we can let pass those decisions. I mean, we can let pass any action, and then we also tried in registering it in so many different countries where the client wanted to do it, but we advised them how difficult it is going to be. So not in X but in Y country you can do it, and this is going to be how it's going to be more advantageous in such a scenario. So that's also something that revolves around due diligence. Is not a lot of people are aware about, especially the students. When we are in the law school, we only see an IP lawyer handling infringement suits, but this is another aspect where we can assist in such diligences as well.
Right. Speaking of law school, so you were a part of Nirma Ahmedabad.
Universe, right?
Right. So how did you figure out that IP is something which you wanna, sort of try? So I heard you speaking about internships and all of that, but
Right.
is is an internship sufficient for somebody if at all they want to pursue something? So if you can throw some light, whether anything is apart from internship is also required for you to assess your success in a particular field, or carving a particular niche. Is it just internship which helps you, or overall the college and digging about that particular field and all of that?
I think it's the overall bit that would help you. I mean, internship is one way to maybe assess how, if at all, you really like that particular area of law. So, for example, I in the first few years of my law school, I interned with the district court, with the high court. Read about civil matters, criminal matters. Then I decided that that's when I decided this is not really my area of interest. Although I did like reading a lot about criminal law, that was my favorite subject in the law school. But while on the
That
ground the
I think is
situation is different.
everybody's favorite subject before
Yeah.
coming into it, because that's the most interesting subject anyone can
Subject.
have. Right, right.
Exactly. So, but then eventually I was like, no, I think corporate is where my interest lies. Therefore, I did, a couple of internships with the firms where, corporate law was involved. But while interning, I again realized this is not something, that interests me a lot. On the other hand, while I interned with an IP law firm, my interest did peak a little. And subsequently, so my law college, it helped in a way where, we had to choose a subject of honors. So, say for example, I mean, my degree currently reads as BCom LLB IP honors. So, I mean, what they do is they help you pick one subject in the fourth year of law. So the seventh semester, eighth semester, ninth semester, and 10th semester, there will be 2 or 3 subjects which are specifically dedicated to IPR. So then those subjects, while they were taught to us, I did, enjoy reading about them towards the end of the law college. And of course, having attended a lot of conferences, that also, and hearing about the case law that are handled with by different people, that also added to the in deciding as a deciding factor.
Right, right, right.
So
So speaking of you, making a name, of course, you have done enough. As in, you've worked your way up in Khaitan, and now you have figured out, a good way to basically balance your personal and
right,
professional life, which I think is, it's very important for everybody nowadays, and hence the firms are coming up with these flexi policies to reduce the attrition rate, perhaps.
right.
I would want from you to understand what exactly should a person think of developing in themselves
Hmm.
while they are in college, if at all they think about working in a corporate firm. So you have been a part of, a middle tier firm and a top tier firm as well. What are these characteristics which these firms really want you to work on while you are in your college?
I think discipline and hard work is how I'd sum it up. uh, you will have to develop so much discipline around your routine that you have to start your day at this particular hour. You can't be late, you can't choose to start your day at 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. You have to be, if you have to be in the court at 9:30, or in the office at 9:30, you have to be there. So a discipline around that routine. And then the work, sometimes the work hours, of course they stretch up if the work demands, so they stretch to more than 10 hours, or 12 hours maybe in a day. So this is something that you should be prepared for it, if you want to work in a corporate law firm. And I mean, apart from putting in all your effort, the other thing would be to, of course, keep yourself abreast of all the developments that go around you. So because as it is, we're in a very dynamic field, so to have that understanding of what's going on, and what's the latest development in the particular field, in the particular section, that's also is very relevant. So keeping oneself abreast is another thing that one should
Right.
really be prepared for.
Right. Uh,
Constant reading, I mean, you
right.
can't just do away with your reading.
Right, right. I think that's perhaps one of the, I would not call it traits or whatever, but it definitely is something which is an imperative. If at all you think of becoming a successful lawyer, perhaps reading at least 2 hours or 3 hours every day is
Yeah,
very essential, that you cannot do away with.
that's
So yeah,
what.
that's there. So I wanted you to go ahead with a message for all our viewers who are
Okay.
watching us, especially the ones who would want to make a name for themselves in IPR, or who are thinking of choosing IPR as their niche.
Um, I think my recommendation would be, IPAR is a very interesting subject. So if at all you want to explore it, you should not think twice. You should just go ahead with it. I know it's a very niche area of practice, and it's in the very nascent stages of development in terms of India. I mean, you won't find like when I started, it was mainly either Delhi or Bombay where most of the IP law firms were situated in. So, but now there's Chennai. A lot of law firms in Calcutta, Chennai are also coming up. So, I mean, you should give it a shot. Do not think of it as it's still in the developing. I mean, I understand it's in the developing stage, but there's so much to learn, in the IP field, that you will really enjoy it. The most important message that I will have for you would be, do as many internships as possible, and explore as many fields as you can of the law. Don't just restrict yourself. When you read a particular law, when you read a particular subject, you might think during that time, that because I have aced this particular exam, because I've topped this particular subject, this is what I'm going to practice. But do practice it before you really decide on choosing it as your career option. Do a lot of internships, and just don't restrict yourself to that one area of law. Be open to any opportunity that comes your way, be it a small law firm, be it a big law firm. Just do just surprise yourself and keep exploring. What How it's going to help you is, at least you will be able to figure out and gauge that this is, although this is my area of interest while I read, but this is not my area of interest when I have to practice it, because things really are different. Books do provide theoretical understanding, and they do give you conceptual clarity, but on field, on ground, things are little different. There are a lot of procedures involved, so you may not want to invest so much of your energy in running about and reading about those stuff. So I think it will help you rule out the possibility that this is the field of law I do not want to practice. This is the field of law. Internships will help you gauge that understanding. And eventually, when you will decide that these are the areas of my interest, you can read further about it, discuss with, I mean, I'm sure you would make a lot of connects during this journey when you intern. You can discuss with your peers and, the seniors, the lawyers, and everyone around you, and maybe then decide on your career option. But decide on something, because you will have to practice for at least a lot of good years to come. So choose your area wisely is how I would say, because there are no shortcuts to success. So do it very wisely, invest your time.
Right, right. Thanks a lot, Soumya, for giving us your valuable time here. I'm sure the viewers who are watching us have had their fair share of knowledge, and they would definitely implement on what you had to say when it comes to IPR, your experience, and
Yeah.
the beautiful message you gave to our viewers. So thanks everyone for joining us. We'll meet you soon again in the next session. Stay tuned and do subscribe to our channel, which is IMS Gets At Law. Thank you so much.
Glad I could be of help. Bye bye.
Bye.